All right, so let's dive into a mystery that I think everyone's at least heard of, the Zodiac Killer. But, even with all the attention this case has gotten over the years,
Yeah.
we're going to go deeper, way deeper.
Right, yeah.
We've got old articles and investigative reports, and we're going to try to find all those little details that you might not know, even if you followed this case.
It's true.
Yeah.
There are so many little details with this case.
Yeah.
And even with all the attention it's gotten, the Zodiac's true identity is still such a mystery.
Right, and to think it all started back in 1968, December 20th, in Vallejo, California.
Oh, yeah.
These two high school sweethearts, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, they were parked on this road that was, kind of a lover's lane out on Lake Herman Road.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly their night takes a very terrifying turn.
Yeah, this first attack, it was brutal.
Yeah.
David was shot point blank right there in the car. And Betty Lou tried to run away but was shot multiple times in the back, and they both died there at the scene.
Wow.
And it's so unsettling because there's no clear motive, no witnesses. It just instantly created this wave of fear and uncertainty in the community.
I can't even imagine. And like you said, that was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Fast forward to just a few months later to July 4th, 1969, just a few miles away at Blue Rock Springs Park.
Right.
Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau become the next victims.
Yeah, and this attack is disturbing for a couple reasons. Not just for the violence, but because it really marks a turning point in the case.
Okay.
Darlene is killed, but Michael survives even after being shot several times.
Oh, wow.
But here's where things get really interesting. About 40 minutes after the attack, the Vallejo Police Department gets this phone call.
A phone call, like from the killer.
Exactly. A man on the other end of the line claims responsibility for the Blue Rock Springs attack, but also for the Lake Herman Road murders, too.
He's connecting them.
He is, and he even gives specific details, things only the killer would know.
Wow.
And so it completely changes the game.
Yeah.
Now, the Zodiac is not just lurking in the shadows, he's deliberately stepping into the spotlight, making himself this public menace.
So he wants the attention, he wants the notoriety.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
And I guess that kind of explains what happens next, because this twisted game takes another turn in August of 1969.
Right.
3 major newspapers get these identical letters: Vallejo Times-Herald, San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner.
Wow.
And in each one, there's a piece of a 408 symbol cipher, and the demand is like straight out of a nightmare. Publish the cipher or he's going to go on a killing spree.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even imagine the panic that must have caused.
Yeah, the entire Bay Area was gripped by fear. Just imagine everyone desperately trying to decode these messages, hoping to prevent another tragedy.
Did anyone crack the code?
Incredibly. A school teacher and his wife, they actually dedicated themselves to solving it.
Wow.
They worked tirelessly, and finally, after days, they broke through, and what they revealed was truly bone-chilling.
What did it say?
And the message read, "I like killing people because it is so much fun.
Oh my God.
It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all."
That's just horrific. I mean, what does that even tell us about the killer?
Well, it shows a deeply disturbed mind. A complete lack of empathy, total disregard for human life.
Right.
But here's the catch. The cipher, as disturbing as it is, doesn't actually reveal his identity.
Oh, wow.
The mystery just keeps getting deeper.
So the Zodiac is still out there, and he's feeling even bolder after all this, but the attacks don't stop there.
No, they don't. On September 27, 1969, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard are having a picnic at Lake Berryessa when a man in a hooded costume approaches them, and on his chest, emblazoned for them to see, is that symbol, the crosshair.
Right, that crosshair symbol, almost like his brand, just instantly recognizable.
Exactly. It adds a whole new layer of fear and intrigue to the case. So the killer ties Brian and Cecilia up and then brutally stabs them both. Cecilia tragically doesn't survive.
Oh my God.
But before leaving, he makes another bold statement. He draws that same crosshair symbol on Brian's car, along with the dates of his previous attacks.
He's signing his work like he's claiming ownership of these horrible acts.
Exactly. He's constructing this terrifying narrative, taking control of the story and keeping everyone on edge.
Yeah, it really is like he's playing this game with the police and the public,
Totally. And then on October 11th, 1969, he just totally changes his MO.
Oh, okay. How so?
So instead of picking, some secluded location this time, he targets Paul Stein, a cab driver.
Oh, wow.
Right in the middle of San Francisco.
So he's not even trying to hide anymore.
It seems that way, yeah. He shoots Stein in the head, steals his wallet and keys, and then does something really disturbing.
What's
He
that?
takes a piece of Stein's shirt, like a piece of his blood-soaked shirt.
Oh my gosh, that is chilling. Like he needed some kind of trophy from the
Mhm.
crime.
Right. Like, what was he trying to prove?
Yeah, what was the point?
It's a question that has haunted investigators for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Is it power control or is there some deeper psychological motive that we're just not seeing?
Right.
But anyway, a few days after the murder, the San Francisco Chronicle gets a letter from the Zodiac.
Oh no.
And guess what's enclosed?
It's got to be the piece of shirt.
You got that piece of Stein's shirt.
It's like he's saying, see, I was here. I did this. Just unbelievable.
It's just this whole other level of arrogance, and this shift in MO really raises a lot of questions.
Like,
Like, was this a calculated escalation or was it a sign of desperation? Was he trying to send a message or just taunting the authorities?
right, right.
We may never know.
And the worst part is he didn't stop there.
Nope. Zodiac kept the pressure on for the next few years.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This constant barrage of letters and ciphers,
Mm-hmm.
some containing boasts about his crimes, others threatening future attacks.
Oh, gosh.
And all the while, he's mocking the police, highlighting their inability to catch him.
I bet that was frustrating, not just for law enforcement, but for the whole community living under that kind of fear.
It was a reign of terror unlike anything the Bay Area had ever seen.
So with all those clues, did they ever come up with any solid suspects?
Well, there were many suspects over the years,
Yeah.
but one of the most prominent was Arthur Lee Allen.
Okay, I've heard that name before. Wasn't he a convicted criminal?
Yeah, Allen was a convicted child molester and a former school teacher.
Oh, wow.
And several things pointed to him. He owned a Zodiac brand watch, he lived in the area, and he even had a typewriter that matched the one used in some of the letters.
Wow. That does sound pretty damning. So did they finally have their man?
Well, unfortunately, it wasn't that simple.
What happened?
Despite all the scrutiny, all the searches of his property, and the circumstantial evidence, investigators could never find anything concrete to link him to the murders.
Oh, man. So close, but so far.
Exactly. A very frustrating turn of events.
But there were other suspects, right?
Yeah. In 2021, a team of former law enforcement officers and forensic experts called the Case Breakers announced they had identified a new suspect,
Okay, who was it?
a guy named Gary Francis Post.
So did they finally solve it?
Well, not exactly. Post actually died in 2018,
Oh, wow.
so there's no way to question him directly. The Case Breakers did present some interesting evidence, though, like DNA analysis and photographic evidence from Poster's dark room that seemed to connect him to the crimes. But despite their efforts, the case is still officially unsolved.
Wow, that's got to be so frustrating for everyone involved, especially the victims' families. They deserve answers. They deserve justice. But even after all these years, the Zodiac's true identity is still this huge mystery.
It's true, and it's fascinating how this case continues to capture the public's imagination.
It really does.
It spawned so many books and movies and documentaries, even online communities dedicated to cracking the code.
Like a real-life puzzle that people can't let go of.
Totally. I think it's that combination of horror and mystery.
Makes sense.
The brutality is undeniable, but it's the unanswered questions that keep us hooked. Who was this person? What drove them to do these things? And will we ever know?
Right. Those are questions that I think are always going to fascinate us and haunt us. It's kind of wild to think about a case like this one from the, late 60s, early 70s, and how it still has this hold on people.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's not just like true crime fans. The Zodiac is everywhere, like movies, books, documentaries.
Yeah, it's true. I think it really speaks to the power of mystery, especially one with so many twists and turns like this one. We can't help but try to solve puzzles and figure things out.
Right. Like our brains just need to make sense of things.
Exactly. And when
Yeah.
you have a case this complex, this chilling, well, it's no wonder that people are still trying to find those missing pieces.
It really is like a real life detective story that just never ends. But even if we never, figure out who the Zodiac was, are there still things we can learn from this case? Like something that goes beyond just the facts of the crimes?
Definitely. I think for one thing, it shows us that even with the best investigations, sometimes we just don't get all the answers.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about all the time and effort put into this case, all the dedicated detectives, all the advances in forensics.
Right.
But some mysteries just stay unsolved.
Mm.
It reminds us that sometimes the truth just stays hidden.
I see what you mean. And it makes you think about the killer's psychology, too. That decoded message, the part about man is the most dangerous animal.
Yeah.
That's always stuck with me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's definitely chilling. And I think it does give us a little look into his mindset. Maybe some deep-seated misanthropy or real distrust of humanity.
Like he thought he was better than everyone else.
Exactly, like he was separate from or above everyone else.
And that's kind of interesting when you think about who he targeted in the beginning. It was couples in those secluded places, almost like he was hunting prey.
Hmm.
But then the shift to Paul Stein, a random cab driver right in the city,
Right.
it feels different, like he was trying to make a bigger statement.
It does, and it's so fascinating to think about that shift. Was he getting more confident, maybe? Or was he trying to cause chaos and terror in a place that should feel safe?
Right. Was he trying to prove something about how vulnerable we all are?
It's definitely a terrifying thought, and one that leaves us with way more questions than answers, I think.
I think you're right, and that's the legacy of the Zodiac, isn't it? The mystery continues, and we're left wondering if we'll ever truly know who this monster was.
It is, and while the violence is definitely the most horrifying part, we can't forget about the victims. Betty Lou Jensen,
Mm.
David Faraday, Darlene Farron, Michael McGow, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein.
Right.
All their lives were cut short, and their families are still living with the pain and the lack of closure.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that beyond the mystery and the codes and the ciphers, there were real people whose lives were forever changed because of this.
Yeah.
So, as we finish up our deep dive into the world of the Zodiac Killer, I really want to encourage everyone listening to keep digging. Read the articles, watch the documentaries, and come to your own conclusions. This case may never officially be solved, but I think trying to understand it, trying to put the pieces together is what keeps us engaged and hopefully a little bit wiser about how complicated people can be.
That's a great way to put it.